So I wanted to share with you today a little bit of background on Washington State's truancy policy. This is not a comprehensive overview, and many of you likely will have things to add or know more. But this is a broad brush over the last couple of years. So first and foremost, our compulsory education laws compel parents and guardians to ensure that their children are enrolled and attending in a public school, private school, or home-based instruction from the ages of 8 to the age of 18. And in the compulsory attendance laws, there are some exceptions that are laid out. The current statutory requirements of districts are these. These are high level. More detail can be found in the 2 documents linked at the bottom and in the RCW. So this isn't meant to be to stand on its own, to be complete. But as an overview in general, school districts are required to notify parents after 1 unexcused absence. After 3 unexcused absences, the school is required to schedule a conference with the student and the parent to identify barriers to attendance and make a plan to address them. Between 2 and 7 unexcused absences, an assessment, either the warns or another assessment, must be administered to identify barriers. From that assessment, the district must provide data-based interventions to address the causes of absences. After 7 unexcused absences in a month or 15 unexcused absences in a year, the school district either must refer the student to a community engagement board or file a petition with the court. And that petition is then stayed, which means it's placed on hold, and further interventions and work on the part of the district and in partnership with the court must take place. So I wanted to give you just a brief history of some of the legislative or statutory changes. So back in 2016, you might remember that these interventions that I just laid out first were put into statute. So things like the conferences, assessment, and data-based interventions. It was the first time community truancy boards was required by law, and the stay of the petition. Those were all new back in 2016. In 2017, there were a few minor tweaks to the thresholds and some of that language, but substantively didn't change too much. And then in 2019, Senate Bill 5290 passed, and essentially it eliminated the valid court order, which was a tool that enabled courts to place youth in juvenile detention for the violation of a court order for status offenses such as truancy, CHINS, and ARY, the at-risk youth, and CHINS is child in need of services. There was a staged timeline, so as of last summer, as of last July, truancy became, the valid court order was no longer available to courts for truancy. And lastly, House Bill 1113 in 2021 passed, and it renamed the Community Truancy Board to Community Engagement Board. And it also changed the thresholds for a student having a petition filed on them. And it changed it from 5 unexcused in a month to 7, and from 10 to 15 unexcused in a year. Next slide. I also want to share with you, differentiating from statute, which the legislature obviously has authority over, OSPI has rule writing authority. And so when we say the WACs, we have rule writing authority in 1 chapter of WAC and in another place which has not yet been created. So first of all, one of our bodies of rule defines absences, both excused and unexcused. This is where you can find the definition of an in-person absence as well as a remote absence. That was new during the pandemic. It requires daily attendance taking, and it outlines what is excused, along with a number of other related requirements. The second area where OSPI has rule writing authority is under compulsory attendance law, RCW 28A225. That is the statute. However, the statute authorized OSPI to write rules to supplement that guidance. And so I share that with you as we engage in this work. OSPI has not yet utilized that rule writing authority. And so as we talk about what are some possible changes, knowing that that authority exists, I think will be critical for our work together. And now I want to share a little bit about truancy data in Washington State. This data that I'm about to show you is going into our legislative report on truancy, and that will be published in the next several weeks. We will make sure to share that out with you all. There's a lot of numbers here. I'll walk you through it. First of all, what this shares is, or shows, is our truancy rates and petitions filed over the last 4 years. So if you look at that far right column for last year, 8.9% of all of our students met truancy thresholds in 21-22. That represented about 101,000 students. The number of students that had a petition filed were 4,054 students. That represents, of all the students that met the truancy thresholds, 4% of them had a truancy petition that was filed. That percentage has gone up since 2021 when OSPI rules really impacted school district filings, but it's significantly down from prior to the pandemic. Next slide. Again, a lot of data here, but I will walk you through it. So as you know, or may know, students, when they have a petition filed or when they accumulate absences, they kind of go through a bit of a process. So these are truancy actions that get reported to OSPI. So again, we talked above about how many students had a truancy petition. That was 4,054. And then following on down, so in that 21-22 column, the number of students that were then referred to a community engagement board was 1,842. Continuing on down that column, you can see the number of students with a juvenile court hearing were 447, and the number of students who were detained in juvenile detention for failure to comply with the court order in 21-22 was one single student. Next slide. And now I'll just share a couple of slides about who experiences truancy more than other students. This shows truancy rates by race and ethnicity. So how we can interpret this slide is 9% of all students met the truancy thresholds. So we can see American Indian, Alaska Native students, 24% of them meet the truancy thresholds, and then all the way down to the far end of the graph, where 4% of students reported to OSPI as Asian experienced truancy. It's clear that our students of color have the highest truancy rates. These are historical trends. Next slide. And then when we take a look at truancy rates by student program or characteristic, again, 9% of all students experience truancy. I apologize that these labels are cut off. I will identify them for you from left to right. So 38% of unaccompanied students experience truancy. And then our students experiencing homelessness, students in foster care, students from economically disadvantaged households, migrant students, students identifying as gender X, English language learners, and then the 11% is students with disabilities, Section 504, and then down to the very last one, the 3% is highly capable. Next slide. So with that, we will stop the recording, and I wanted to just pause and ask